A worn-down tumulus is the starting point. From here, the line travels towards Stonehenge, missing the famous stone circle, but clipping the edge of the ditch around it. The next point is the gigantic earthwork of Old Sarum. It's an ancient hill fort. The lay then passes to the side of the spire of the present cathedral and continues across country through 2 more Iron Age hill forts for a total length of 18 miles.
To be the theme of this field trip. Energy in straight lines and also in whirls. Hill forts like this one at Old Sarum often have lays skirting their edge, as the Salisbury lay does at Stonehenge. This, if the lays are energy lines, will clearly create a whirl, and energy will seem to be picked up round the bank. This also happened at Salisbury Camp.
That reaction.
Site of the old cathedral at Old Sarum. Eileen is dowsing the width of the lay from Old Sarum to Salisbury Cathedral.
I'm in line with the spire. And they're swinging round to point at the spire. And it's in a line and it's holding with the spire.
Allowing for the fact that she was walking downhill, I would judge the lay to be about 15 paces wide.
The rods are pointing to the 2 wells from the...
And you're getting a headache?
Yeah.
Very strange, isn't it?
We're looking for a hostel.
It's even a firm that are building new mazes now, apparently.
Really?
Oh yes, what are they called? Minotaur Designs. And, well, the chap that spoke about this is Jeff Saywood, who's been running the Care Drive podcast for about 10 years now. And he do research nothing but mazes, you know, and he knows every maze, also around the world. Well, he organised this conference that's up in Walden. And the thing is that the basic maze pattern you can see on Greek coins and you see all around the world. It's just this one sort of symbol in itself. It's not, you know, it's a symbol as much as anything. And all sorts carved into rocks. There's one carved in tin tag of very early Greek coins. And there's a sort of you can work out how to make them. You need a pencil for that. Which is stretch here. They all start with a cross like that, and 4 L shapes like so, and 4 dots like that. That is so-called the seed of the maze. And I've got this right. Start with it. Go around like that, go back again. Always go around the clockwise now, and join up to the next point there. Next point there. And that is your basic maze pattern. That's the one you see on all the coins and everywhere.
Yeah.
To expand on that, you just start again. That's a 7 circuit line. You just add another L shape on there, like so. And you can go up and getting 11 or whatever, 17. Starting from there, just the same thing. Start from the cross. You can go either way like that and build it up to more circuit gyrations. And somebody somewhere along the line in ancient times realised this pattern, and they've all got this crossing. Well, not all of them. There are various different types of mazes, but they also occur in cathedrals. You probably know about that. The Sharp's got one. It's been said that monks and people actually went round them on their knees as a form of penitence, or as a kind of stand-in, not being able to go to a pilgrimage to some site. Even seen illustrations of it.
I want to try that.
Right, it's simple enough. Yeah, sure.
Cross L's and then just.
Sorry?
First cross, then the L shapes.
Yeah,
And then,
they're all considered as things to be joined up, including the dots. Right.
Right. So this one
So you go back to there, and your pen only goes clockwise round.
goes to
and
the dot.
goes to the next point. So
Is that the dot?
The maze on St Catherine's Hill. Dowsing is a very versatile tool. It can be used to detect the presence of general substances such as water or metal, and also more specific things like archaeological remains or even the bodies of murder victims. Going one step further, it can be used to find intangible energies such as those associated with lays and ancient sites. In this lay dowsing on St Catherine's Hill, both dowsers seem to find a reaction at the same spot. Going even further, the process can even be used to determine abstract concepts, such as ages of things. The St Catherine's Hill maze seemed to give a date of 1250.
The view of Winchester Cathedral from St Catherine's Hill E.O. Gordon, in her book on prehistoric London, says the hill stands at about the same distance from the cathedral as Silbury does from Avebury, and that Winchester Cathedral was erected on the site of a circle is practically certain, she says, from the fact that several stones were at one time to be seen in the close. The late Dean Stevens pointed out one of them to her, near the King's Gate, a relic which she considered went far to confirm the tradition that the first minster was built on the site of a stone circle.
One due east-west. Nine lady stone circle on Stanton Moor. I found 3 lays going through it, detectable by dowsing. And this is one of them. This is another one.
As Donovan is the first to point out, you don't have to believe it, but I do.
Chris, in the many hours that I've spent watching deer, I'd often wondered why a particular buck would take a particular place. I suppose it's not often that many stalkers a dowser or the other way round. And it suddenly came to me one day, I wonder whether the bucks are attracted to some of these very special places where they're aware of something without any preconceived ideas. And I went to one of these old stands that I knew about and dowsed it, and a strange thing, it dowses very similarly to the stone circles down at Penwith. Now, I wonder if old people saw this and saw it as a centre of power or maybe fertility, and they put their stones and their religious places there.
The whole of the cathedral, it's only underneath the choir and the retro choir and the chapels towards the end. Nobody quite knows if there is a space underneath the nave. The nave was remodelled later on, and it's quite probable there is a crypt there, but certainly it isn't open. It's sealed up. If you look through one of the 2 of these bays, you'll see that there's a very solid rock wall there. And as you go round, it should be quite possible to discern a level on the walls. Fortunately here, if you look carefully, the stone changes colour, where soil had been put. Now that soil was taken away about 1850, 1855, that kind of time, and workmen toiled for think it was 2 months, to dig out a great depth of soil from here. Nobody knows quite why it was put there. It might have just been builder's rubble, but it seems to have been rather more comprehensive. But it was certainly taken out, and a floor was put into this part of the crypt, though it doesn't go into the whole of the crypt of the church. Crypts were usually here for 2 purposes: for worship, for burial. There doesn't seem to be much evidence of use of this Winchester crypt for burial. I think there are possibly 2 burials that have been discerned here, and one was probably not in the crypt properly, but fell through from the floor above when some work was being done. So it seems not to have been a crypt which was made for burials. For worship, possibly, there again, there's very little evidence that there was regular worship here. There was certainly worship, I think, in recent historic time, about 1940, when workmen were working here during the war, and then they said evensong here apparently during a raid, but that's a one-off, and there seems not to have been regular use of the crypt here for worship. Let's go through, because I think you're particularly interested. So here is a wellspring of water. Quite dangerous, not anything to fall into, though probably not quite as deep as you might think there.
Can you actually see the bottom?
You can, yes. There is rubble there, but that seems to be the bottom of it. But it seems to have been quite an ancient well, and its position is significant because it's underneath the high altar, probably the most holy part of the cathedral, at least underneath where the high altar was before it was moved. It's now just a little bit forward, but it seems to be a significant point in the building of the cathedral. So there is this well here, and it seems to have dated from a very early time, probably because the stone round it is underneath this pillar, which is a Norman pillar, which would date it then maybe to an Anglo-Saxon time. The pillars down here, this one is Norman, so to several of the others, you'll see the typical Norman arches, no refinement, no ribbed vaulting or anything like that, just simple grooved vaulting, cushioned capitals or basic table capitals on the pillars, very thick pillars, all indicative of Norman work. Yeah.
Is there still water being fed into this well?
Well, of course, as you probably know, the site of Winchester in the Itchen Valley is in a very waterlogged area. The River Itchen is a braided stream. It divides itself into several channels, and throughout historic time, those channels have gone wherever they wanted to, although man has made a great effort to curtail them and to channel them into where he wanted them to go, but he hasn't always been successful. And certainly, the crypt floods during winter. It's closed. You can't get down here during the winter because there is a water level. Water just bubbles up. There are 1 or 2 places where water bubbles up into it. So it's only open during the summer.
But that's still an active
Oh yes,
spring.
it's still a spring. This is a part of the world where a lot of water comes up, artesian water. Very often with a tremendous force. I can take you to some watercress beds in Alsford, and if you take the cap off those, you see this water coming up with tremendous force. It's a beautiful jacuzzi water coming out, lovely clear spring water coming from here. So, you're quite privileged to come down here in the dry season. New pieces of stone on, well, you know, down underneath the floorboards, as it were. We haven't got floorboards here, so we put them in the crypt. Again, big pillars with these, this is known as a cushion capital. If you notice here, you've got infillings between these pillars, and these are supposed to be strengthenings for 2 of the chantries, which are above. It would be the Wainfleet chantry on that side and the Beaufort chantry on that side. So the purpose of the crypt seems to have been foundations, and also to have been there to shore up what was put into the rectory choir later on. At the time of the Reformation, citizens of Winchester are reputed to have saved the bones of St Swithin and hidden them. They're not known, but it doesn't. Nobody knows exactly where the tomb was. Slipped and fell, and her basket of eggs, which would represent her wealth, because she was bringing it to market, all shattered. And he blessed them, and they reconstituted so that they were. And if you look at the memorial above there, the metalwork has eggshells on it, and apples, and raindrops, of course, because it was supposed to be a time when they took he was buried outside, and when they put him into the Anglo-Saxon cathedral, then it rained all day, almost in protest. So it's July the 15th. July the 15th is St Swithin's Day, and we still say, don't we? If it rains on July the 15th, we're in for 40 days rain. And it rained this year on July the 15th, so there we are. This is underneath the Lady Chapel. It was known as the Trinity Chapel, and it's quite possible that there may have been some burials down here. It was in the floor of the Lady Chapel that Bishop White, who was not exactly a controversial figure, but he was a figure who at the time of the Reformation wasn't most loved of Queen Victoria, and he died, and he was buried underneath the floor of the Lady Chapel, and later on when they were doing some excavations down here, his tomb fell down, and so he was there, and there have been others. Some of these stones which are used to pave this chapel here, of course, are tombstones as well. And you also notice these tremendous figures. Even chemicals brought down by the damp atmosphere would have obliterated the relief of his features. His nose doesn't stand up, he's got a really nice nose, sort of flattened nose. And we'll see that it's in one of the niches as well.
And who is he? Sorry. Who is he?
St Swithin.
Oh, sorry.
Supposed to be St Swithin there. There is also a stone coffin. Now, stone coffins, of course... Oh, sorry, that's the one. There are two stone coffins down here, but maybe we should just go and have a look at this one. You see, rather a comfortable position to be. You had to be a very special person to have a stone coffin, which would protect your body after death. Not that you would know anything about it, of course, but it would protect your body. And there's a pillow there, a nice little sort of niche for his head to go. One might have felt very comforted, really, by the prospect of being interred in a coffin like this. I could think of far worse endings like this. So a stone coffin either was made for a king or a saint or somebody rather special. And the supposition is that this is St Swithin's coffin. We can tell architecturally that this is later, by the way, because you've got the rib vaulting, the stones decorated. It's not highly decorated, but it is much more so than the Norman work. Stone, which came across from the Isle of Wight, from Cornwall, as most of the stone from Winchester. Still, well, quite a lot of the new stone comes over from France. And there is a stonemason, there's a woman stonemason now, who's the chief stonemason, and they are constantly, of course, repairing the statues and the architecture, the decoration on the outside.
Is that the cane stone?
Cornstone. Well, some of it, I think it isn't cornstone actually. No. It's a quarry fairly close to corn. I can't remember the name offhand.
That was the one the Normans used.
That's right, it was. Yes. But most of the stone of the cathedral came from quarries there, which is the Isle of Wight, or Beer, which was a much softer stone, and that was used for the great screen. But it doesn't stand up to weathering of this stone. You can pass this round, but don't drop it.
Can you tell us what's above us here?
Along here, this would be the South Presbytery aisle.
So it's an aisle?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
No altar?
No.
All right.
Well, they think, just a minute, they think that this might have been a little chapel here. There may have been an altar over here. This would be a position where there would be one. There is evidence to suggest that this might have been used for. Which I was just going to say, can we lift the cover? Don't fall in, my love.
Well.
Don't let me drop the key in, or else we shan't get out. Rubble. Well, number 2.
Oh, what's in there? Oh,
Yes.
rubble.
More rubble, but also, can you see any water?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. And perhaps if we'd come straight from the first well here, you might have said, well, the water's at a different level, you come up again.
Is it actually a different level?
Well, no, it can't really be.
It's at the same level, but
It's at the same level, but it's a different, that looks bad, that's right.
Yeah,
Still, we've come up
higher.
to it, that's right.
Well,
Well, again, nobody quite knows about this. Are we all here, by the way?
Yes.
Right. I was just saying that the origin of this well is not well known. But there is some supposition that this may have been a smaller, earlier chapel, and it could have been used for worship. This would have been the position of the altar. There may very well, there might have been some across there, or perhaps on the altar. But they think that this certainly, because of the step up, this was a small chapel and it was used for worship at some time over here.
So would that water be used for baptism?
Could have been, I suppose. Could have been.
Drowning them, Rob.
That's right.
Total
piece
immersion.
of wood that I think is somewhere
Is there?
around. Somebody likes to just pop it back on the top. That is taken, it's part of one of the oaks, which was forming the raft on which the foundations of the retro choir were. I don't know whether you heard about the necessity to shore up the east end of the cathedral, which was subsiding very much at the beginning of this century, about 1900. Do you know this story? Well, it's not a story, it's fact.
About it, yeah.
Yes, about 1900, the Dean and chapter were very worried indeed, because blocks of masonry were falling down, walls were completely askew, pillars were haywire, etc., and the whole thing seemed to be crumbling. And so they called in a firm of architects who employed engineers, Francis Fox and company, and they eventually, and it's cutting a very long story short, employed divers, because they went down below the crypt. They weren't in the crypt at that time, but they were down 40 feet down, and they had to put adits underneath the structure of the retro choir at the eastern end of the cathedral, which was of course underwater completely and dark. And the divers, two of them originally and then one for most of the time, wearing diving suits and diving helmets and so forth, worked for 6 years, bringing down, or having passed down to them, sacks of cement which were slashed open, putting them in brick formation so that the weight of the building above it should be stable. And one particular diver, William Walker, worked from 1906 to 1912 doing that. There was a statue to him at the end of the cathedral. He died in a flu epidemic in 1919 later on. But that was all beneath the crypt, and really is rather a remarkable tale. And since then, the fabric hasn't moved at all, which is rather wonderful. Yes, what I was going to say was, of course, that the reason why the retro choir began to crumble was that although the original foundation of the main mass of the building is on gravel, that bed of gravel dips down here towards the river, and this was peat. And when they originally, in the 1200s, when Bishop de Lucy started the retro choir, they put trees, logs, on the peat, so that there's a raft of logs, and this is a section from one of them. I think there's another one probably over here in this last case that William Walker unearthed at that time. But beneath those logs, which were pickled, if you like, and intact by the slightly, well, it wasn't all that acidic because it's chalky alkaline water, but they were preserved under the water in any case. Beneath that, you've got the peat, and the weight of the building compressed the water out of the peat, and the peat gave, so the water came up. And every time, of course, they went down, water gushed up very quickly, so that the whole thing is on a very shaky foundation indeed at this end.
Was the retro choir built after the rest of the body of the church?
Yes, I mean the dedication of the Norman church was 1093, between 1079 and 1093, and then the retro choir dates from about 1200.
So I mean,
it was
sensible thing wouldn't have put it all on the gravel, but
that's right. They couldn't. So why the retro
choice.
choir was built is conjecture, really. But anyhow, so that's it. Now, can we find our way up? That's the point. Down here.
I don't know, we'll have to arrange to see. You see where the two circles intersect in that little crescent shape? We've been discovering a lot of ponds in exactly that shape along this line we've been following. We've found about 3 now, and one that was dry that we don't know was a pond. Just always on the same side, always on the left side, the south side.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Yeah, it's not quite bad, but she's got the wrong end of the stick.
Get a shot of the roof. Thanks.
If a wind can come and do something when there's no air during the night, and then also come back 3 days later and add a little bit.
Raining, for instance.
Cousin of Vortex, I thought he gave that up last year.
No, he's written another book now.
After making money, isn't it? It's flowing. It's moving. You said it's pulsing. Which way is it pulsing? Ask it.
That white bag with bits and pieces.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, so that's how we go.
I can feel it. It's throbbing right next to me.
That just gets us swaying back.
Yeah. Have you done? Did you bring it as far
I
as
think I may have lifted it out of the when you when I climbed on top to have a look, then I think I may have climbed down just come straight over here.
Go down to the next circle. Which way is it? At some point you'll find it changes direction. Get used to the feel of that now. Okay, so you feel it's going that way. Now go somewhere else along the lines of the circles we've met and see if it changes direction.
There you go.
Go on.
Did you notice?
Walk. So which way is the energy?
Backwards now, and then come back into it again.
There you go.
There you go.
Right
Little
now,
cross.
just keep going and hang on to that. So say which way is the energy going? Now can you feel it in your hands now?
No, up and up.
You can still feel it. Where are you feeling it? Okay, so hang on to that. Hang on to that. Walk down the path and keep thinking, concentrating about that feeling you've got and see if it changes. Alright? And walk to the next one and see how you feel as you go.
Are these copper?
You can make them with anything. I think they're very copper. Because they don't have to. We've got heavy ones for you. But you can have it in your hand. Can you feel it? Okay, so that's pushing the energy. Yeah. Just keep walking. Get used to the feel of it. Have you had a go, Richard?
I do.
I should have brought more rods, shouldn't I? Go on. Jimmy had a pair, but I don't know what he's done with.
Yeah, they're going the other way now. Yeah. If I'm further into the circle,
Okay.
go that way. If I'm on the outside edge, I go that way, look. If I'm on the outside edge, they go... They're both going opposite ways, but... And then when I go inside, they change.
Let's get these. Really, this is a really boring old concert compared to the more exciting ones last year.
Chap on the top.
You're drawing one.
When you say anything about the rods up there, and go
Yes,
as
you
well.
can feel it. Yeah.
And then the Alps.
Okay, all right. Now what we ought to do is go back to Winchester and let you develop that walking around the cathedral. One side. This is only on one side. Have a look, Richard. It doesn't continue. It doesn't continue. Look,
Just one side of the circle.
just one side of the circle.
This side is...
And look how the corn's laid down.
Yes.
You know, it's not been trampled. It's been laid in a regular.
On this side, it's not. But the circle continues round.
This takes my breath away. Right, let's go.
Oh, near the chimneys.
Near the chimney.
Oh,
The place is littered with them.
And
How do you see that
there
one?
is something at the bottom of the road
Yeah.
saying, well, what you see on the top of the hill has nothing to do with crop circle. But in fact, when you come, it is crop circle.
Ah, so
But the farmer
There's a
doesn't
cunning
want to have
trick.
somebody in
Cunning
his
Where's
video.
the best place to see this one from?
To see this, you can see this from the devices road,
Ah,
but it's easier to let the car here,
yes.
to park it here,
Yeah.
and to walk on the road, which is climbing the hill.
Right.
And the tram line are like this,
Ah,
so you
yes.
can enter the field easily.
Ah, good.
But when arriving here, you will find a new, how do you say this, small cart, we say in
Sign?
French. Sign.
Oh, yeah.
Caution.
Oh,
there
no.
is pesticide in this field and so and so.
Ah.
All right.
But if you enter the field anyway, you can find a new crop circle.
Right. A circular one.
Three circles and two corridors or two avenues.
Oh,
I
right,
do not know
okay.
exactly how to spell this.
Mm-hmm.
Because I come up here again in 10 days. I'm hoping to catch it quickly before they
Harvest it.
harvest all this.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Have you seen all those with your circles on your map
Oh, yeah.
today?
Well, last 3 days.
Last 3 days. Yeah, what
I've
fun.
travelled all of these. I did a grid system and kept driving up and down all of them.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
Like that.
Uh-huh.
Till my wife got
Excellent.
seasick. Are there any in the near vicinity of here, apart from that one down the bottom there? Well, down the road here, through the S Bend, there's one on the
Right.
Right. If
Yeah,
you
we
look
saw
there.
that one.
Yeah.
If you go further down to the Green Gate,
By the strawberry kiosk.
yeah, big Green Gate.
It's in the field, in the slope,
Ah,
and at the bottom of the field you have the town of Bristol. You know?
right.
So from the field you can see, let's say, Alfred Bristol.
Dandry Hill,
Dandry
Bristol.
Hill. And it's a pictogram field.
Right.
You have to take the
It is Friday, July the 26th, 1991. The Daily Telegraph.
case, the German case. It seems that this one was the most complex one I've seen.
And now this.
Yeah.
All coming up and going round like that.
Crotchet.
It's a crotchet.
This
right.
isn't round, is it?
No.
That's
It's
pointed
sort of
here.
that's that sort of shape.
It just looks a bit like somebody wandering about. Quite honestly.
Right, let's go.
Well, it is sort of like...
This one's left standing.
Oh, there's another one bit there, is there? Yeah. Gotta go down the tram line.
Ever seen land?
Yeah, this is a great big circle going round.
This map, which appeared in the circular of the Centre of Crop Circle Studies in autumn 1991, shows alignments between this year's circles at Cheesefoot Head and the tumuli in the area. The lines converge on a group of 5 circles to the south.
Pond view. There should be a pond. There should be a pond at the back. At the back of the globe.
Living on the thread, are we now?
Oh yeah, big pond. Big pond. Oh, very
Yeah,
busy.
so that's the globe.
So do you want to stop there?
Yes, please.
Alright.
Okay.
Just once around the pond, please.
Shall we go to Old and see what that looks like?
Don't back up. Because there's a pond on the other side too.
We're surrounded by water.
English heritage.
Oh, a roundabout.
Right, perhaps you turn around.
Let's go and see what the village looks like.
Yeah.
Never go
The
back.
globe looked very nice next time.
Very nice.
That was the globe.
We can go and have a look.
And then anything is mixed so slightest error.
And one of the things you probably have is 3 or 400 cars a day. And you just know these cars. That's all that day now. It's my car.
Specifically for London,
Yeah,
no, there isn't. I mean, it's an older book.
Beautiful.
Historic.
Why go up to it?